Are they spying on us?
Is technology a bad thing?
Can you guess it?
Welcome to the TVA show.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of
The TBA show.
with your host,
Who does the most?
DJ Stones. And with me here
I was
is
hoping you'd say like DJ Toast because it rhymes with most, but it's fine.
Eish, I'm sorry.
I guess we'll try that on our other show,
Yeah.
the Toast show.
The cooking
The
show.
Everything Toast show.
That actually sounds like a cool show name.
Just toast everything.
Today we'll be testing out what happens if you toast an iPhone.
Yeah, we're toasting curtains at my house. Later on that night, is just a fire.
I think that's to say, that would be a very lit show.
Yeah.
Get it?
We're really on fire with that one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, you are listening to the TBA show, and that was by far our most normal intro.
I guess.
Yeah. But you're listening to the TBA show with the host who does the most, even when he's making toast. See what I did there?
No, not
The
gonna-
one, the only, Dr. DJ Stones. Forgot my name for a moment. I was bad.
And from me, the guy who did not forget his name, the DJ who does the mostest with the toastest while toasting the iPhone and his house. It's me, the Simp Master himself. Oh my word, it might just shock me. But anyway, the Simp Master himself, DJ Sim.
Yeah, and you're listening to the TBA show, and boy, do we have something in store for them.
Yeah,
What are you vibing to?
I don't know, it's hot. It's like really hot. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's really hot in here. Yeah.
Yes, we have a jam-packed show, and if you clicked, you saw it. What happened to IBM?
Yeah.
But before we find out, what are we going to do?
We're going to find out what these IBM musics is going to be all about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These
I'm
hot
sorry.
tunes, because they're toasting right now.
Yeah, we could say it's lit up in here.
Enjoy.
Rich Urban. Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, but it ain't game over. It could always be some bad times, yeah. Just know that God is always watching, and I'm praying for you. Keep waiting on God's timing. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is it, this is God's moment. Stress on my mind, and my mind going. I need some relief, I need some more closure. A leave when it killed this, I need something stronger. Yes, it probably get better when I give it over. No, you tired of running, you need some new shoes. Oh, you so prideful, man, you need a new crew. I know it's painful, but you was born for winning. The sun is risen, it's organic. You just have to live in it. Now I'm winning, yeah, I'm popping, but not popular. I'm popping the pins. I know my God is greater than whatever that you live in. If it's stress, if it's death, or maybe wealth, and preaching prosperity, but I know my God is the best. I'm praying that you hear me. I know my God is the one who saves. He put your name on a page. He knows your name. You feel that way? That's calling his name. Jesus is the one who saves. Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, but it ain't game over. It could always be some bad times, yeah. Just know that God is always watching, and I'm praying for you. Keep waiting on God's timing. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is it, this is God's moment. His word on my mind and my mind flowing. I needed something new, so I got closer. Now the sun on me, I became solar. He reflect on me, now I shine brighter. Tired of running, I got some new shoes. Now I'm winning, man, I got a new crew. It was painful, but I was born for winning. The sun has risen, it's organic. I didn't have to live in it. I could remember all the time that I didn't have nothing. Now I'm saved by his grace, now I'm mastered. I could have lost my mind, could have happened any time, but the spirit came inside, now I'm mad shining. I'm praying that you hear me. I know my God is the one who saves. He put your name on a page, he knows your name. You feel that way, that's calling his name. Jesus is the one who saves. Yeah, Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, but it ain't game over. It could always be some bad times, yeah. Just know that God is always watching, and I'm praying for you. Keep waiting on God's timing. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is God's moment. This is it, this is it, this is God's moment.
Active FM. Radio has never been better. Radio has never been better.
We are back after some nice tunes.
Yeah.
You are tuning in to the TBA show.
Yeah.
Talking about tuning in. Last week we spoke about how Facebook was being tuned by a former employee, their product manager.
I think you need to explain what tuned is for our listeners. Not everyone is, in tune as you are.
When somebody's being tuned, it's a term for, they're being told off or they're being told. So basically the old product manager of Facebook came out as a whistleblower, speaking about how Facebook has been, looking at profits over privacy, not privacy, over like protection,
Yeah, misinformation.
Over misinformation, as well as, how the specific things that they could prevent with their platforms like Instagram and Facebook that they don't, because it brings in, viewership. Like, there's a study that showed that people actually feel bad about themselves after going through Instagram.
Yeah.
And like things like that could be prevented, but then there is no factor that drives people back in to Instagram if that's removed. And now she came out and she blew the whistle on this whole thing, and now she's like obviously getting press everywhere. I want to throw a spanner in the works here, right? And I wanna say, what if she's a fake whistleblower, or what if this is a bit of a stunt to get more censorship done?
By who and for what?
It could be Congress. It could be Facebook. Like, I want to look at this from a different light now, I was just, it's the TBA show. We challenge things.
The Tech Business and Conspiracy Podcast.
Because none of the things she said is technically new.
Yeah.
We've all kind of known it, Yeah. We've all, like, even when we were speaking last week, it wasn't shocking when you find out that these things are set up in a way that Mark Zuckerberg cannot be found liable or be criminally charged for any of the things that come out of Facebook.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. But the media that comes around it is what's now interesting, because it's being made this huge thing, Like, oh my word, this has never been seen before. She's going on talk show after talk show and people are blown away, like, wow, Instagram actually does that? Yeah. But they're like, no, but there's been like 4 or 5 whistleblowers before that say the exact same thing. Why aren't they getting a 60 minutes? Why aren't they going on CNN? They testified. There was the one guy who testified in Congress, 2019, testified in front of Congress. What he said in Congress is still being used today. He never got those big shows. How come she's getting, all the limelight? It's a question, and I wanted to get your view on it.
For me, I think it's just how do I look at it? I never want to be. I've always tried to shy away from conspiracies, and for me, this is very much a conspiracy that we're discussing because I'm just like, it's just conceptual things that we're thinking about and trying to find holes where maybe they aren't, maybe they are, but I'd rather base these things on fact. But let's say that is the case. For me, I'm just like, what's the overall impact of doing this?
The overall impact on doing something like this allows, because you even spoke about this, what's the end goal for a government? More control.
Yeah, total control.
As much control as possible. Where's a platform like Facebook, like Instagram, allows for freedom of speech at a mass level?
Yeah.
I can post something and gather a lot of attention, you know? A big mobilizing tool for the Capitol March in America was Facebook. You know, so if you can crack down on these social medias, you look at China, you can't just post whatever you want. And it's under what? Public security.
Yep.
We need to protect people. You know, and I'm seeing a point of view like that, because out of something like this, what will happen? They will crack down.
Yeah. There'll be more censorship.
There will be more censorship. And the problem here is it's not going to be in a way that it's not going to be like, okay, this is the problem, let's tackle it. It will be, no, we need censorship. Facebook is going to still operate the way. Instagram is still going to do what Instagram does. You know, in fact, if you look at it, it's companies like Apple and Samsung that actually now create things to prevent what Instagram does. You know, they have these things that basically pick up if you're now on social media a lot, and it alerts you that, hey, Baba, you've been on social media for long. It's not good.
Yeah. The screen time thing.
It's not like they're going to say that they require screen time on Facebook now.
Yep.
They're not going to do that. They're going to say, no, we need to stop this type of content.
Yep.
And we've seen that before. That's the evidence. We've seen it before. The whole misinformation law that's coming in. It's not what you consider as misinformation.
Yeah, I think those topics are way too subjective for it to ever be truly seen as, okay, we're making a judgment and it's clear cut, where it's like, okay, this is misinformation. This is a lot of it just stems around misinformation. From just what you were talking about, the Capitol riots, how that was portrayed in the media and what was actually happening was different. From things like in Discord, where Discord was, I think a lot of the things in Discord were starting to be, or they were looking into like censoring some of the things and looking into Discord, because a lot of these things are organized also on Discord. So, but it's like, I think it's a very thin line. And I guess if you look at it from that angle, it would be smarter to do it in such a way where you draw the public's eyes into this platform and the public starts seeing the platform as a problem. And now basically that's how it becomes censored. Because now they're like, okay, someone needs to do something about this. Because the public can't really do anything. As much as we'd like to say we have power, the public doesn't have power. I remember a good example of this is when the whole WhatsApp thing happened, where they're like, oh no, WhatsApp is stealing our data. You know what? We're going to show them. We're all going to Telegram.
No, but you see what's interesting about that, they actually had to roll back. They had to stop.
No, but they did not stop. It was just that type of thing where even if they had not stopped, a lot of the people just continued because it was just not convenient to them. And it was not making a big difference. The big difference what was being made was now that because of the brand image now started to look bad. But for them to actually change things like, okay, now Facebook doesn't really have your data, that's not the truth. I think we can see from this. You know,
one thing that thing allowed for, and again, it goes back to what I was saying about where now you have your phone companies now stepping in. You know, it gave them the advantage now. And this is now where the importance of people come in. Because people hated what happened with Facebook. People did not like it. Right? And now, what does now Apple do? Their next keynote is all about privacy. Because remember, with the thing that happened with WhatsApp, did not just shine a light on WhatsApp, but on Facebook as a whole.
Yeah, the whole organization.
You know, and how they mistreat your data.
Yeah, personal information.
You know, and it wasn't a thing of, okay, they have my information anymore. It was a thing of, I'm tired. I don't want to be your product. You don't have my permission to be your product. So what does Apple do? The Apple now comes in with the feature that, you can sign through Apple and we'll give other information out. Now, what do people want to do? They go now to an Apple phone. And now if they're going to Apple, WhatsApp is now having a problem with Apple. Apple's like, no, screw you, change your policies, or you're not coming on our platform. Now, do you see the dilemma here? Now, a lot of people are now when it comes down to it, right? Let's say they don't come to a middle ground. WhatsApp doesn't end up on Apple. I've just spent 11K on my phone. I'm not getting WhatsApp. Screw WhatsApp. It's free.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my 11,000 rand phone, and I'm just gonna get something else.
But now, since we have our tinfoil hats on anyway,
Yeah.
wouldn't there not just come a time when those very people that you think are protecting you start using that for their own profit motive?
You see
Because
now.
in this case, like that would be, in this example, would be the phone manufacturers saying, okay, we're coming up with these features. But I honestly think they did not do it in the best interest of the public. It's because there was this media that was out and would make them look better for them to do this. And it's just a selling
You
point.
see now the advantage now with going with a phone company than an app is that the app needs to make money. People don't understand. Facebook needs to make money. Hence why you are the product.
Yeah.
Apple, you're the client. They don't need to make money anywhere else. You freaking buying a phone and a tablet for almost 30K.
But that's not going to last forever. Because also now Apple is moving to more towards a service business with Apple TV and all this.
Yeah, no, that's also going to another market.
Yeah, but
You
I'm
see,
saying
the thing
what
is,
happens when
those services it's not like those services weren't there before. They were always delving inside, you being able to rent movies, you being able to buy movies on their platform.
But what happens is a question I'm going to ask you. What happens when right now about 70% of Apple's profits is still from their products, mainly iPhone. I think I spoke about this last time in the show. Mainly iPhone and then everything else. I think AirPods now contribute largely to that. What happens when that's not the case?
See, the
when
only
the
way
product stops being the main focus and they can't sell, they can't make money from that, and they have to start using other means.
See, the only way that I know we're in a hypothetical, but I'll be a bit realistic in this hypothetical. The only way that's going to happen is if phones start becoming sold as a service. Do you know how contracts work? Something similar to that.
Or they become obsolete.
All that, but again, I don't see a world where that's possible right now.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this
And-
hypothetical. Since we
and
have our tinfoil
we have our
hats on,
tinfoil
that's
hats
why
on.
I'm bringing
Yeah.
this up.
But when they get to that case, I think Apple would be prepared for it. Hence why they're branching out into things like cars. Other products that will still be like earphones, other products that will still bring in a good income for them. Whereby Facebook's three biggest money grabs is WhatsApp, it's Instagram, and it's Facebook. Yes, Oculus makes money, but they don't make enough to compete with those three.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. All three of their biggest sorts of income are free applications.
But another spanner in the works is looking at things like I was looking at it's not the unemployment rate in America, which we base a lot of case studies in America because I guess it's the beacon of the 21st century.
It's the what is it called? The guinea pig.
Yes, the guinea pig of the world.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was in the last 2 years, they've seen an increase in people just quitting their job. Not being fired, not losing their jobs, quitting. So now they have a problem where a lot of people there's a lot of there's jobs now that people are just not willing to fill.
Yeah.
So what that's creating now is this sort of a vacuum where they have to look outside of their country just to fill positions. So now I'm looking at this as if, what if this is a trend? And now we're starting to, because the article I was talking about was, I know this is such a segue, not even a segue, such a detour from what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But they were speaking about what if this is just the beginning of a trend in how in what we find important. Because if this is the start of, okay, people not necessarily wanting normal jobs or wanting these high-paying jobs because they want their own time or they want to spend more time with family, then, okay, what about this specific technology that we keep upgrading and paying for every single year?
Yeah, you see, with
'Cause then
that,
it's
again,
not-
now if we have to, I haven't seen the case study, so I'm taking a huge guess. I might be wrong, right?
Yeah.
But probably the demographics of the people who do this are either they are in your 30s, number one, and number two, they probably find out they were in a very high-paying position.
No, it's middle income earners. I guess
'Cause-
that's what made it interesting for me.
Okay, now that's very interesting.
Because now, like, what does that? Because this will have a ripple effect in the next 5
They
years.
should have a rich background, because there's no way in your, like, again, even if you thought, okay, you know, this, you are young, you thought this was a good idea. At one point, survival instincts will kick in. You know, you need money to survive. It's a sad fact, you know, because even like someone like me, I would work for free. That's how much I love doing what I do. I'd work for free if it was an option, right? But we live in a world where in order to get things, you need money to get it.
Yeah.
You know, you want food, you need money to get food. You want junk food, you need a lot of money because junk food is expensive. You know, you want a phone, you can't just freely get a phone, you know. And the issue here is now with that is that in the long term, unless they are hugely financially backed, either by parents or by some sort of thing that they built and then it suddenly popped up, you know, down the line, they're going to have to end up getting back into jobs. And now the danger with this, the danger I'm seeing with something like this is now, okay, the country is going to outsource. They have to. They need to. These positions need to be filled. Businesses are going to be like, but we need to fill these positions. Now, the problem I'm foreseeing is now in the next 5 years, now this person needs to get back into work. Maybe what they didn't work. You know, maybe they're like, I'm going to become a rapper. And now they became a rapper. And now they realize, you know what? The music industry has changed because of things like iTunes and Spotify and Deezer and Tidal and so forth. You know, it's not easy to make money anymore. Now they want to go back into their corporate world. And now that position is filled. And now what do you expect the company to do to say, Jose, you're fired. Tom, you're back in. You know, the world won't work like that. So I think the bigger problem we're going to see with that trend, and if it picks up as a trend, is in the future you're going to have a lot of people from that country being unemployed, needing employment, and there's just no space for them anymore.
Yeah, you see, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about it's going to be interesting to see the impacts on tech. Because I feel like, especially with the whole cell phone thing, so I think even with we've come to a place where we feel like we don't need the flagships anymore. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
I saw the iPhone 13 like a couple of days ago, and I was like, I could probably afford it, but what do I need it for?
See,
At this point, this 13 megapixel camera that I have in my phone is... The iPhone's probably 30% better. Do I need 30% better in my life, though?
You see, now the interesting thing on that as well, I feel like I'm ready for you this week.
No.
No, but it's an interesting conversation as well. The interesting thing on that is that a lot of these smarter companies are actually preparing for that. Like if you look at Elon's goal, it's to get a luxury car as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
Because you see, the problem is, and it's also seen in the Android market, is that people are willing to, you know, compromise when it comes to their money. They're willing to say, okay, if this phone performs as well as this phone over here and this phone is cheaper, maybe I don't need that extra camera. Maybe I don't need that 20 times zoom. Yeah, I understand that this is a 4 gig, this is a 3 gig RAM. I'll take the 3 gig RAM to spare a couple of thousands.
Never take the 3 gig RAM.
No,
please, don't do that. That's one area you should never skimp on. Never skimp on RAM.
It shows.
TBA show's biggest advice.
Yeah, the biggest advice.
Never skimp
compromise
on
your camera.
Compromise on everything else in your life.
Compromise on your screen.
Compromise on your life.
Don't compromise on your RAM. Yeah, but
never compromise.
And
on
now, if
RAM.
you look, even Apple, they're trying to ensure that there's not a huge jump in their prices of their phones, key phones, and their normal iPads. Now, when you're going into your fancier ones, now your iPhone 13 this and your iPhone 13 that, that's when now it jumps. And now people who get that, you now find it's mostly people who use it for not only just as a phone, but they use it for something like photography or videography or editing. You know, because you now have these vloggers who don't need they don't need a PC. They can't afford these top PCs, so they'll just get an iPhone 13 Pro, and they can now use it as their camera, their video editing tool, as well as their posting tool and their Instagram. It's their office basically. And that's now their target market. Like cinematic mode. Why would they add cinematic mode into a phone?
Hot take. That's a gimmick. That's my hot take. There is no reason. That's actually a good question, and there actually is no reason to add that. But speaking of things that are becoming obsolete, before I go on
another tangent,
as if I'm not like an Apple fan, but I still love Apple. But that was unnecessary. That's a freaking gimmick. We're not going to see that in the next 3 years.
I think again it's a test. I break away from your segue. I'm sorry. I think it's a test, and Apple does this. You know, where they'll put a little feature in one phone just to see, You know, will the market need this? And again, remember, iPhones are now being used in movies.
Yeah.
And this is now to help that. And they see, okay, how many now people in this type of industry switched over to an iPhone for this feature? If they find out it's not the percentage that they need, iPhone 14 won't have it.
But I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. But speaking about things that are obsolete, is IBM obsolete?
I think yes. Because
What happened to
when you
IBM?
mentioned IBM at the beginning of the show, I was like, what does IBM do again? Yeah, so I think
It's crazy. IBM was founded in 1911.
Shucks.
In the year of the
Some people
Lord,
were 11 at the
1911. Some people were 11. So they started off as a
insane.
computing and tabulating recording company. In fact, even prior to that, they branched out into weird things like clocks. So obviously, what a lot of their products was also used for, it helped businesses, do those punch-in time things where it would record times
Yeah,
of
time
employees. So from there, they became the first company to they invented. I don't know. I can't say the first company to. They invented the first public address system for schools. So a public address system is basically an intercom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that publicly address the
I
entire
have
school.
no idea what that. Oh, you know why?
Why?
A PA system.
Yes.
That's why it's called a PA system.
Oh, makes sense.
Because it's like public address. Sounds so lame.
I grew up calling them intercoms.
Yeah, me too. And I guess IBM changed the world with intercoms, so that everyone could be called to the office equally and be heard by everyone.
Can DJ Stones please report to the office? Like everyone just looks at you.
Your mother is here to beat. She has a belt. I don't know what her problem is.
And everyone just looks at you like, everyone's just scared now.
Everyone there's just like, where's your father?
No, in fact, I feel like this is a unnecessary tangent. But something that was always cool in school when your parents came to fetch you. You just felt like a boss,
Never for me.
Like especially when it was halfway through school, because you're going home before everyone else.
I
For
think-
these peasants.
Out of 10 times that my parents picked me up, 7 times I was in trouble. So I just get a beating on the way to the car. So it was never fun for me. Oh, it was. I think there was one time it was so bad. I got a beating and I had to take a taxi home.
Wow.
So they left in the car.
Wow, what did you? Okay, I don't even know. I don't know what you did. In 1933, IBM began to produce electrical typewriters,
Yeah.
which was quite crazy, And something else I learned as well, it's probably somewhere in this article that I'm gonna just skip over. IBM took a big role in World War II. Guess for which side?
The Nazis?
For the Nazis.
Hell yeah.
Their German branch actually helped create one of their the machines they used to write what's that thing called?
Transcripts.
No, that thing where
transitions.
like that thing that
transformations.
It hides the actual text.
I don't know.
As he laughs at me. So basically, they helped write this machine that they were able to write encoded messages to each other. It was actually the German branch of IBM.
A lot of companies, actually, if you look at the history of it, I think even Volkswagen, they were making the Beetle and they stopped and helped build
Tanks.
Tanks.
Yeah,
Basically.
we are Fanta because of the Nazis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To Germany.
It was their
'Cause
Coke.
I'm not allowed to say thank you Nazis.
No,
I
no,
think
no.
that-
You don't thank
never
Nazis. No,
thank
no.
you
Thank you,
Nazis. Thank you
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, because what happened was the Coke company that side just started making Fanta. Because they were now a lot of just before people start hating on these companies, the reason why was a lot of them got detached from their parent company in America or wherever else in the
they
world.
had to survive.
They had to
Germany
survive,
at the time.
And you find a lot of Nazi leaders took over. But it's crazy because as you look through the history of IBM, in 1952 under the leadership of Thomas Watson, is a key reason why I'm highlighting the word Watson for people
Because
who
of Sherlock Holmes.
no their AI system. What is it called?
Ah!
Watson. It's because of one of their old leaders. IBM began to grow as a computer business and sold mainframe computers based on its vacuum tube design.
Yeah.
And they brought up the whopping 5 megabyte hard drive into the game,
My goodness.
which had to be carried by airplanes. You actually had to load a 5 megabyte hard drive into an airplane.
So ahead of the game.
They were so ahead of the game. And what made it crazy was it had ARM-based technology, not as in chip ARM-based technology,
Yeah.
as in it had a robotic arm that would take the disk and then
You
place
can't
it
call
in.
that ARM-based technology.
That's ARM-based technology. You guys feel me? You feel me when I say
No,
that?
that's not ARM. It had an arm.
It had an arm.
It had a carry.
It had a carry. Yes. Oh. And they invented the programming language called Fortran, which was used to code, which is now the basis of a lot of modern programming languages.
Sure, this company sounds insane. I wonder
They're
where they
actually
are right
insane.
now.
I wonder where they are right now, you know. Their mainframes were actually used, and what made their mainframes nice, right? So a problem they had at the time was storage. And obviously, even with that big thing, it was, you know, changing stuff.
Yeah.
So what they created was like these cylinder-based tubes that you could easily replace, and you could keep all data with it. So even with the hard drive, you'd obviously have to remove data to put in new data.
Yeah.
But with these cylinders, you could easily change it. And if you look at olden days, you'd see there's like this tape stuff that would be on it that would record, and you could remove and then add new ones.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they actually added those, you know, and they were big. Every huge company had IBM. At one point, they covered about 80% of the computer industry in the world.
Yeah.
But now, where did the fall of IBM start? Let's start there. I know you really want to speak about where they are now.
I think the fall of IBM happened when they beat the chess champion.
Now,
How could they
the
beat
fall-
Gary?
The fall was actually before that.
Yeah.
So obviously, Apple came. Like most things, Apple just know how to ruin the fun, you know? Your company, you think your company is going to be the biggest company in the world?
And then Apple makes something better.
Then Apple does what you're doing, but better.
Yes.
So obviously, Apple brought in, but actually, it's not Apple's fault. It's the beast that still roams the earth right now that caused their downfall of IBM.
Going back into conspiracies.
Yes,
The beast that roams the earth.
I think that's a cool title for him. You know, it's like, you know, Jeffrey Bezos is just Princeton, and this guy. I'll get to it, and you understand why I say
Still
that.
roams the
So
That should be the title of this show. Where's the beast that runs the show?
we're gonna have a whole show on this beast. So Apple comes into the picture and obviously builds the first like portable computer.
Yeah.
You know, changes the market. By the Apple II, basically the industry is starting to change. And now IBM is not far behind in technology. Basically, they're not really yet into personal computers.
Yeah.
They're into
They were just providing it for large businesses, basically.
yes,
And
and they were
mainframes.
bringing their mainframes were more server-like. What would now be more modern server-likes than
Yeah.
normal.
Personal computers, basically.
Yeah. But now what happened was they decided they're going to join the game. And in fact, this is actually also what caused their downfall. So they decided they're going to go into personal computing. So they now needed to find a company that's going to deal with their software, because they're not a software company. They're not going to write their own software. So now there are two people they're going to go for, right? I forgot the name of the other guy. And the second person was Bill Gates.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who he is?
Is he the beast that roams?
He's the beast that still roams the earth.
But
Nobody likes Bill Gates.
I like Bill.
You know, Bill Gates got egged, not once, but twice on the way to a court case.
Dude, a lot of things have happened to Bill. He's a chill dude. I feel like I could sit with Bill and look at
You know,
nature.
as soon as somebody says, I wear pink to look less intimidating, that's a problem. Why do you look intimidating in the... What have you done? Because facially, he doesn't look intimidating. But why do people... It's like Jeff Bezos. Why do they look like the perfect villain for a Bond movie? That's a question for another day.
I feel like Bond villains were made after these CEOs. Yeah, that's my conspiracy.
But basically, so now what happened was they went into business with Bill Gates, right?
Yeah. Bill Gates of Microsoft, if anyone knows.
Of Microsoft, yes. And the mistake they did was they did not basically get rights over the software. So they didn't make it that Bill Gates could only supply IBM. And at the time, you know, people might not see it, but at the time they actually could have done that. Bill Gates would have done that, because it's
Microsoft
either you...
was still a smaller company at the
Yeah,
time.
because it was either you were with Apple or you were with IBM at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so they tried to go into it, and in the beginning they were successful. They were actually beating Apple. They were a big personal computing company because they were cheaper than Apple, and their software could do a lot more. I think even if you watch the Apple movies, there's a point where you see Steve Jobs calling Bill Gates and he's just shouting on the phone. He's like, he's going to sue him because of basically the Windows UI was based off of an Apple UI thing that they were trying to bring that failed.
Yeah.
And long story short, so now they didn't go for this. They didn't contract it. So now other companies started looking at the personal computer and they realized, wait, these guys didn't. It's not locked to IBM. Oh, okay. So they started building cheaper versions of the personal computing system, and they went to Windows and like, hey, can we use your software? We'll pay. And they're like, okay, cool. And actually got to a point where you could actually buy a Windows separate from a computer. And at that time, now IBM tried to, now they finally like, you know what, we're going to build our own operating systems. They did that, but they were too late. And their sales just plummeted to the point that they sold off their personal computing company to an Asian market. Guess who was the buyer? Lenovo.
Oh, I was about to say, is it the piece that roams?
No. I feel like that's still in your head.
I can't get that out of my head. The piece that roams.
I feel like anytime I show you a picture of Bill Gates and start laughing.
Anyone, is this the Bill?
Hey, have you seen what Bill Gates looks like now? The beast that roams the earth.
So yes, our personal friends, Lenovo.
Lenovo actually bought that company. And from there, I guess IBM tanked for a huge time.
Yeah.
And from this, basically what they started doing, just before I get to that, as well as a lot of proper servers started coming out, server-based, proper what we have as servers today started coming, and companies moved on to that because it was like the personal computer, but just mainly for your data and stuff.
Yep.
So, what's that thing called? Mainframe started going away, which is kind of weird when you watch, certain movies and they're like the mainframe.
Yeah, I'm in the mainframe.
You're like, no, you're in a server.
No, it's the mainframe.
It's the mainframe.
It's because they're tapping into IBM's old stuff. That's why it takes them forever to go to. If they were tapping into the server, they would have been in already.
I'm in.
You log in with Google.
So from there, IBM actually then branched out to a researching company.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And now that's when we get into modern IBM. Like, the floor is yours.
Modern IBM. I have no idea what modern IBM actually does. I was trying to find something cool about it, but they've actually just kind of tanked. Because I think ever since they sold their personal computing division, they kind of moved towards a business services model.
Yeah.
And that's basically what makes up a majority of their profits.
Yeah.
But for me, I think in the case of IBM, it reminds me of kind of something like Kodak. What happened to Kodak?
Yeah.
Where because of how it's not that they weren't willing to be early adopters, but it's kind of in a similar vein where where Kodak was, it was basically at that crux point between digital photography and more based on, I forgot what it's called, but basically negatives and all of that. And from that technology moving on to digital photography and stuff, they had the opportunity to be the first in that. And people in Kodak knew about that, but because it was making so much money at the time, they could not foresee a future where what they had right now would be obsolete. Yeah. And I think to an extent, that's kind of what happened with IBM. They could not see a time where they were not the biggest personal computing company, because they had this but partnership with Microsoft, and they were doing so well, beating people like Apple, who were basically the new kids on the block, who were doing crazy things, but they were still losing to them. So they never foresaw a future where they could not be the biggest.
The titans they are.
The titans that they are. And I think that's why that it didn't click in their heads that they should make that deal with Microsoft at the time to keep this software in-house. We want to buy this from you, or you can't sell it to other companies. So I think it's just a good case study to look at, and how easy it is for a big company to kind of get ahead of itself and shoot itself in the foot. Because I think that's basically what happens. The same story that happened with Kodak, and it's probably a similar story we're going to talk about a lot of the companies that we have right now. If they don't look at the technologies and look at and try and always plan for the future or the ahead, they are going to be caught out by some upstart who was onto the latest thing that they ignored. So I think for me, that's the most interesting part. It's also sad because thinking of a company that invented the PA system is now just an afterthought.
Dude, it's crazy. Right now they dabble a lot inside, obviously, research, and now they're also into the cloud, providing cloud-based services. And they've split their company. So all the old IBM servers, mainframes, or whatever compute stuff people still have that IBM and it needs maintenance, they can go to, if they were still want to buy, they can go to a separate company that's like a subsidiary of IBM. And now they just purely focus on research as well. And then there's some cool stuff they found out on research. I just don't remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah,
There's
the
some
AI
cool
stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah,
also.
the AI stuff is very cool. And also their cloud-based services is quite cool. But like you said, it's a beautiful casing point to what happens if you don't innovate.
Yeah.
And if you don't see the trend coming and you go onto it. I think that's why if you look now, and I'm not close with this point, if you look now, a lot of companies keep allowing Bitcoin to you, so you can buy stuff in Bitcoin, and then they kind of retract a bit, and then they still open it up, because you know you don't want to be that guy who didn't go into, like, you know, allowing
into crypto in
cryptocurrency,
general.
and then you fell through with it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's been an interesting show. I enjoyed it a lot. So when you say me too.
Oh, this is the part. No, I was thinking of a really cool, something cool to speak about. But yeah, I think this was interesting. I freaking want to hear from the listeners what they thought of us speaking about the downfall of companies. I find that interesting.
Yeah, at least like once a month, the downfall of
Apple.
Yeah, to coming soon. The downfall of Microsoft. Well, Bill Gates
The
is
beast
not
that
there.
roams.
But that is it from us. We're signing out.
That you want me to be and more. So place me on the potter's wheel, spin me until there's nothing left but you in
like what you're listening to? Follow us on Gab and Twitter at ActiveFM,
Instagram at ActiveFM777, and Facebook at /ActiveFM.